Hi, and welcome to the Data Standards Body channel. My name is Jarryd Judd, and today we're going to explore version 1.16.1 of the Consumer Data Standards. Version 1.16.1 of the standards was released on the 22nd of March 2022. This was a minor release to the standards, so it has just small changes and corrections to the broader Consumer Data Standards. Now, in that release, we're going to walk through a couple of the key changes, as well as just more of the errata that was corrected in this particular release, and call to attention two key pieces that are included as part of the broader change. So, where do we start with this change? First, as always, we're in production looking at the latest version, and we're going to move down to, on the left-hand side, the changelog as part of the standards. In the changelog, you can note the date and all the other prior releases. This is always here and ready for you guys to consume. So let's select 1.16.1 of the standards. Now, on this page, you can see that we've got to capture a number of the different changes, ranging from high-level standards, the API endpoints, information security profile, which we don't have changes in this particular version, and finally, consumer experience. Now, starting from the top, and one of the key pieces that was included as part of 1.16.1 was the Open API Specification version 3 uplift. So this has been included, and you can find this as part of the swaggers. Now, to find each of these swaggers, you need to jump back to the Consumer Data Standards, or the main page, and you can go to each of, on the left-hand side, the banking APIs, for example, and you can click on that. Now, jumping to that particular area, you can then see up the top the particular swaggers that are available there, both in a JSON and a YAML format. Those are available for everyone to view and have a look at, and it's an awesome way for you to consume and understand each of the API endpoints. Now, that is a significant uplift and brings a lot of benefits, and also brings the standards up to date in terms of specification for Open API. Not quite up to date, but at least into the version 3, which is really, really good. Now, we're going to jump down to the high level standards. Up first, we've got a link to the endpoint versioning. So what this means, and quite easily, is when you're in the standards and you're looking at that particular area, you can find the link to the endpoint versioning as part of high level standards. Normally that will be sitting right at the top under introduction. However, we want to make sure that has its own appropriate link to be found and used by each of you as you read it. Up next, we have tooltips that are included. Now, normally we have a whole section around each of the normative references that are part of the Consumer Data Standards that we use to really build up the potency and or the power that's built into what is part of the Consumer Data Standards. Now, when you would often scroll through, you would find references to different normative references, and you would then be able to go back and references. What we've included now is, as you're scrolling through and looking at each of these particular areas. Now, the best example for this is jumping into the security profile, which we'll use as today's example. Now, right here, right at the top here, we've got around the particular FAPI component, and often you'll see in square brackets a reference there, and often in bold as well, as you can see here with the FAPI read write draft and the OIDC. Now, this particular tooltip allows to, when you cursor over, which I'm doing now, you can see a little pop-up which does the particular reference as well as the URL to that particular reference point or anchor in that particular normative reference. We hope this really helps people reading, mapping through, and seeing all the traceability between the normative references and what's written in the standards. We know this is important and makes reading and comprehension a lot easier. And then jumping now down to the API endpoints. Now, this is a number of changes which have arisen from feedback from the community, which is great, and it focuses around the energy APIs, as you can see the link as part of the changelog here. So you can go through and look at each of these individually. I won't itemize each of them. They are generally just small changes to each of a field or an area. Some of them have been clarifications or corrections or improvements to descriptions. So look, we really appreciate the community's feedback. This is important to improving the Consumer Data Standards. So as always, we encourage everyone to be part and include this feedback when and if you can. And finally, as we move down, the final section for the Consumer Data Standards, version 1.16.1 is an update to the BPay capitalization. This was raised to us as part of one of our ongoing engagements with the broader community called the CDR Implementation Call. More on that later on in a separate video. But as part of that, it was raised to the group that the capitalization of BPay was actually incorrect. This is great. We don't want to do anything that's particularly erroneous in the standards, and we corrected that as part of this particular release. And you can find that in the banking language section there. All right, that wraps up all our changes for 116.1 of the Consumer Data Standards. Thanks for being part of it. Thanks for your contributions. As always, another fantastic release. And I'll catch you all next time on the next release of the Consumer Data Standards. Thanks all, and catch you next time.